Good morning, good afternoon, and good day to all of you tuning in. Doug Pedersen here, your friend and guide on the path to feeling better and doing better. Okay, today's video number 2452, me upholding my commitment to post videos of value, which meant to be each week here this year, but we're back to it. So today we're talking about how to get rid of burnout once and for all. So if you're checking this out, I really want to honor you. Thanks for hanging in there, even with the lack of communication from me over the summer. But we've got a great series of videos that we have planned for the next few months at least, and I hope you check them out. So if you're checking out these videos, it's because you care. It's because you care about yourself. Hopefully it's because you care about yourself enough because you want to serve others, and you want to feel your best so that you can do your best. All right, so we're talking about burnout today. So have any of you, or have you ever said to yourself, I just can't do this anymore, or I don't want to do this anymore, and I just need a break. Have you ever felt that way? You ever felt where you just had nothing more to give, and perhaps you were burned out? I know that I definitely have. I know that I've got small kids, as many of you know, and with each stage of their development, right now their nighttime routine, I've found myself saying that many times, as they run around and want to play, and my wife and I are giving them instructions and asking them to get dressed and getting on your pajamas and brush your teeth, and over again, the repetition from us and the lack of response from them creates a frustration where you just don't want to do it anymore. And ultimately, I probably need to review how I communicate with them and the parenting and where the boundaries are, but I've definitely hit those moments where, I just don't want to do this anymore. And lucky for them, I pushed through, and for me as well. But I know I've felt that way before in business as well. I can remember over 10 years ago when Nurse and I were still working on building up careers in nonprofits. Very tough time financially in the economy, right? The Great Recession, which was a global slowdown in business. There were times where I felt that, like as I was prospecting, I was just hitting my head against the wall. I just don't want to do this anymore. But you stop believing that maybe your skills are where they should be to succeed. The lack of response that you're getting has something to do with your own performance. And those, my friend, are feelings of burnout. Now, I'm here to tell you, as someone who's paid attention to myself, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician, but I just personally believe that we might use the term burnout a lot of times when we really just mean tired, And if you were really burned out, like clinically burned out, you probably wouldn't be watching these videos. You'd probably be curled up in a ball somewhere, hopefully talking to a doctor or professional and doing things more serious than these videos. But I think that we do have this feeling a lot. I know I have coworkers that feel like they have nothing left to give at the end of the day, and where burnout might be present. And I know people who've left jobs because they felt they were burned out on the job. And so, lucky for me, I don't feel like I get burned out anymore. And that situation with my kids, even though it can be frustrating at times, you just find a way to not burn out. And lucky for me, I found a way to push through in those hard days, in the early days of careers and nonprofits. We're trying to build a business where I didn't quit, And I think back now, as if I had, where would I be? I really don't know. There's no option to quit on the kids, so that's not going to happen. And I'm using that tongue in cheek because some of us that do have children know that they can dig in there, and push your boundaries. But what do we do as parents? We find a way forward, right? If you're a good parent, you find a way forward. Change your communication, change a habit, discipline them somehow where they can learn, but also move forward in the instruction, right? You don't get burned out with your kids. You just continue to love them and find a new way. We want to apply that same type of principle, that same deep connection, no matter how hard it might get. We want to find a way to push through. We want to eliminate burnout once and for all. I'm not saying you won't get frustrated. I'm not saying you won't get stressed. If you pay attention to me, I'm going to hope that you don't do those things or go into those responses very often. But what I'm going to say is you're not going to get burned out. All right? The old school of thought is that when you burn out, you got to change something external, right? Change a relationship, change a job, change the inputs, change the things that are around you so that you can find so you can find freedom from stress. And that's where we find people that would leave jobs, change careers, maybe stop relationships, or stop habits that may be ultimately good for them, And so the new school of thought is that you really just need to prioritize self-care, All right, there's a model out there that I found on Harvard Business Review. It's from a clinical psychologist by the name of Maslach. You can look it up, and basically, they've done the research. This woman and her colleagues have done the research to put burnout into a three-pronged model, if you will. And so you can look at the symptoms of burnout. And she basically talks about how it's fatigue, a combination of fatigue, cynicism, or when someone's cynical, and then also they feel ineffective, or the word that's in the model is inefficacy. All right, so it's basically when someone's exhausted, someone might be feeling cynical, right? Stop caring about other people or other things or the processes, stop caring about the job, stop caring about the company, stop caring about that relationship or whatever, their customers, let's say. Or to the point where those two things or one of those things might be so strong, they start to second guess themselves, right? You start to believe that maybe you're not good enough, right? And that your skills aren't on par, and you start to lose confidence, okay? And so the way through all of that, honestly, again, I think the new school of thought is that self-care just has to be a priority, even if you're not being subjected to some of these symptoms of burnout. But I really believe that whether you apply yourself to that model or you just want to feel better and not analyze it, from a logical standpoint or from a textbook standpoint, is that you just have to understand that burnout, okay, from what I've experienced, what I've talked about, people that I work with, is most of the time self-imposed. That old school of thought, we have to change the job, change the relationship, change the career to feel better. Yeah, that might be the answer, but it might not be. It might not be. It might be where you just need to change your perspective. I think a lot of burnout, especially when we use that word burnout, we're really just tired, and we might be frustrated and experiencing some level of real stress, but it might just be chronic stress. We might be experiencing what I would call functional burnout. Someone that's really burned out is on the couch, like they've left their job, they're tapped out, they're gone. And a lot of us don't do that. We find a way to push through. So we might be feeling some chronic frustration, some chronic stress, some functional burnout, if you will, and we can work with that. We can work to strip that out, and a lot of it has to do with just how we feel about things and our perception, right? It's what we perceive. How can the Great Recession of all times, be debilitating for one person and the greatest opportunity for another? Nurse and I, by the grace of God, just found a way to push through that time and grow the business. And we're at a level now that, we couldn't foresee 10 years ago. We have 3 branches, about to open the 4th in major cities in America, over 20 employees, and we serve hundreds of nonprofits a year. And we've sold millions and millions and millions in staffing services over the last 10 years. A lot of money, okay? So, and impacted a lot of people, done a lot of good. How can that be if it was such a bad time? Not to throw darts at anyone else, but I know other folks that tried to do the same things that we were doing at that time that weren't able to push through. It just wasn't their time or whatever the case is, and it became one of the worst periods for them professionally and their firm. In fact, some of these firms didn't even make it. So it's really about perception and what can you perceive and what allows you to move forward in a healthy, positive way to accomplish not only what you want, but maybe to take you down the path that you're meant to. All right? So here's what it all adds up to. All right? I really want you to just get that key point, is that burnout is self-imposed. The old school is that, hey, I got to change something major, quit something, cancel something, change the external, look at other people. And I really want you to just turn that around and say, I just need to change my perspective. Maybe I just need to take care of myself a little bit better. Prioritize self-care, and don't get exhausted. A lot of times when we're tired, our minds, especially if we tend to worry, we're prone to worry, can play tricks on us, and so don't let that happen. Don't get tired, okay? And we've talked about a lot of these things. We talked over 7 months ago. I introduced the modern self-care model and the 4 major areas you need to pay attention to if you really want to do your best, but also feel your best, all right? So the modern self-care model is the way to apply yourself. If you're going to look at self-care, you need to look back at that model and figure out what areas you need to address. Okay, we've talked about the energy continuum, right? Introduced that months ago. But energy, if you're looking for energy and vitality and that feelings of well-being, a lot of times we're looking for that one thing. What's that one thing that I can do? Or what's that one food or supplement or drink, or just what's that one thing that's going to make me feel better? That one pill, that magic pill, if you will. But you just know by now, if you've been paying attention to anything that we've been talking about, is that energy and vitality happen in a continuum. All right, it's not one thing, it's a linkage of practices. It's one thing, move to the next thing, that adds up to energy, it adds up into vitality. So you have to be looking at your self-care as a linkage of practices, right? Linking your nutrition with your rest, with your mental inputs, with what you're reading or what you're concentrating on, with how you're feeling. Link those things together, right? It's about a dynamic system of systems that work together. Self-care is a system of systems that work together. You are an ecosystem, all right? So you take one element out, you're not gonna feel your best. You take the sun out of our atmosphere, things don't grow on Earth. You keep the sun, but you take water out, there's no life, okay? So you have to have all the elements for life to be present and for it to feel good, for you to feel your best. So think about your self-care as a continuum, linkage of practices, a system of systems, okay? So the last point is that, the energy snowball. We've talked about that before, but the energy snowball is the best implementation. Don't look for the one magic pill, the one magic workout, the one magic supplement. Find 3 practices in different domains of the modern self-care model that can be powerful enough that you can commit to doing them together each day. Mine is reading something that I find spiritually invigorating and that also I'm curious about, and it gets my mind into a place where I just have, like I'm a kid in the candy store, and I'm exploring things that I'm curious about and finding answers and asking more questions and just letting my mind go into a very good but very fertile positive space. I meditate every day, and I put myself into an emotional state. After thinking about what I've read, I try to feel it, right? And I practice heart math, if you've heard that. I'm a certified heart math instructor, but we can really change your emotional state and access things like care and gratitude and love and courage and all those things that are good, all those feel-good, rejuvenating emotions. And then lastly, the third thing I do in the physical domain is at some point, sometimes directly after, but oftentimes early in the day, I do a physically challenging workout and actually work the muscles. And a lot of times I'm thinking about what I read, or I'm feeling what I did during meditation, or I'm thinking and feeling something good about what I have to do that day. And I'm working my muscles, and my central nervous system is activated while I'm doing that. And so to me, that's momentum. That builds momentum. I've been doing it long enough to know that I just have a different day when I'm emphasizing those things versus anything else. I have a different day when I do those things than when I don't. And I've done them so much now, I've got good energy, good vitality in the bank, so that if I do miss a day, I still feel good. I'm still able to think positively. I'm still able to feel great. I'm still able to move around and do the things that I want from an active standpoint. All right? So the energy snowball is definitely the best implementation. Okay? A little bit longer video, but it's been a while. I've missed you guys, and I really want you guys to get this and move forward and grab some of these old concepts, brush the dust off, try them for yourself, and start feeling better. Start feeling better. So some people I had a chance to teach over the summer, and actually the latest course or class that I taught was about burnout. And one of the questions is, what's the biggest obstacle to this? What's the hardest part? What's the hardest part to implement? And the honest truth is the hardest part, what the biggest mistake is, that people don't do anything. All right? In that room, I said that. I'm like, if you're in this room, you're not burned out. If you're watching this video, I don't know. I mean, you could be a zombie for all I know. That's what Brandon Bouchard always says. But you could be anybody for all I know. And so I don't know if you're burned out. I don't know if you're clinically burned out. My prayer is that you're not. Maybe you're just frustrated and a little stressed and looking for some answers. But either way, your biggest mistake is not doing anything. It's almost 2020, okay? We have the internet. If you're watching this, you have some access to the modern world. And most likely, you're in the modern world. You're in America with me, but regardless of where you're watching this video from, anywhere in the world, you have access to the modern world. And you can make choices in the here and now. And so your biggest mistake is not doing anything with the information that you already know, even if it's not perfect. Okay, so doing nothing is your greatest mistake. The second one is what I call Hail Mary attempts, if you watch football, all right? Hail Mary attempts is really just, again, going back to that concept, that idea of where you just need one thing, that one pill, that one supplement, that one food, that one exercise that's gonna make everything better. Hail Mary attempts don't work, all right? I can tell you, in anything. in my own self-care, in business, with my marriage, with my kids. I mean, everything works and nothing works, and everything works in a system. All right, so it's multiple things stacked together that creates a victory. It's multiple things stacked together that creates self-care. It's multiple things stacked together, including grace, that brings out well-being. Okay, so forget Hail Mary. Not if you're actually saying Hail Marys. I'm not saying that. But the Hail Mary attempt, just trying one thing and putting all your eggs in one basket and then watching it burn up in your face. All right? Good to go? Guys, does that make sense? Have we delivered today on some value? I certainly hope so. So think about that. Get rid of burnout once and for all by just not perceiving it. Take care of yourself. Get some rest. Take care. Feel better so you can do better. All right, guys, that's my time. Take care. We'll see you next week for another fun video.